Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Build. Our next guest has been called the It Girl of country music and toured with the likes of Thomas Rhett, Luke Bryan, and Jason Aldean. She's got a brand new single, I Hope You're Happy Now, with Lee Brice, and I think some very exciting news that she wants to share today with fans. Everyone, Carly Pearce is here.
Yes.
That song's pretty awesome, and I know you've been talking about it a lot lately, but I do think we should go back to the day that you wrote it. You know, Luke Holmes, John Singleton, these collaborators. What were you guys thinking about that day? What other songs were you writing? Take me back to that moment where this arrived.
I feel like Luke Holmes and I both grew up on 90s country, and we just started kind of nerding out over all of those 90s duets like Tim and Faith and Trisha and Garth and Reba and Brooks and Dunn. And I started telling him my story that had just happened to me before I had found my real love. I think in relationships, we all at some point get a little confused on what's comfortable and what's actually love. And so this is my apology to somebody, and it happened really, really fast in the writer's room just because it was my story.
So how comfortable do you have to be with a co-writer to have that conversation and say, this is what's happened to me? It's kind of like pouring it all out at once. You got to be in a trusting space, I would think.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a weird thing. It's almost like therapy sessions where we write these songs, but you have to be vulnerable enough to share what you're feeling. And I think it's like inspiring when somebody comes in and really has something that they want to say, and everybody kind of feeds off of it because we all go through the same things.
When I think about obviously writing this with Luke Holmes, he's got a killer voice and a massive career. You're also married to a country singer. You could have just yelled down the hall and said, I need a duet partner, get out here. How do we get Lee Brice on this song? What were you looking for when it came to picking a vocalist?
When Luke and I wrote it, I knew that it needed to be like a big voice, a big country voice. And I've always been a huge fan of Lee. And, you know, there is a song on the record with my husband, Michael Ray, but I didn't really feel like he should play the part of my ex-boyfriend that I broke up with to then be with Michael.
What about that seems weird, Carly?
You know, I mean, I was like, if you want to do that, I just don't think that should be our debut. So I called Lee, and we've played a lot of shows together, and Lee just has that voice that makes you hurt, and I needed somebody that could emote like that, and he loved this song, and that was it.
Did you guys actually get in the studio together? Or was this done, emailing like voices back and forth, producing it on the road, all of these things?
Not only did we not record it together, so my part was already finished, and Luke had sang just like the scratch vocal, but Lee wasn't home in the amount of time that we needed him to record it, and he has a full-on recording studio on his tour bus. So when you hear his voice, he recorded that on his tour bus. It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy to think, I mean, the way that the industry has changed in that way. These weren't always done this way. You couldn't always just reach out to whoever you wanted and say, I understand you're in Portland this week. Can you please go in the weird stall on your bus and record this? Has it made it more able to reach out to new people, or do you think that we lose something by not getting in the studio together?
Probably both. I think it's an advantage for us to be able to collaborate when maybe our schedules don't allow us to collaborate. But also, I mean, yeah, those old duets, even take it back like years and years, they were able to be in the studio and kind of create those moments together. But when you get somebody as amazing of a singer as Lee, he did things to that song that I wouldn't have even thought of. And he just kind of used my voice as like the bass line for it.
You guys have gotten to perform together a lot over the years. Everybody always wonders when the duet comes out, how am I ever going to see this? Like, where am I going to go to find this on the road? Have you guys talked about ways that you might be able to present this live?
I think in 2020 we'll tour together in some capacity, and as the song grows, if people want it and they're loving the song, we'll make it happen. And you never know, you might see us just pop in at each other's shows. We just sang it on the Grand Ole Opry for the first time, which was really awesome. So we'll make it happen.
You've actually been on the Grand Ole Opry stage quite a bit. Certainly for an artist who has one album under their belts, you've been invited back time and time again. What does it mean to you to be welcomed by that organization?
The Opry's it to me. I mean, it is the pinnacle, the heartbeat of country music. And growing up in Kentucky, that was what I associated, like, making it in country music with. And I feel like there are certain artists throughout history that have really taken it and made it a part of their brand and a part of their mission. And I feel like it's my duty to be one of those people of my generation that does that. And I just think it is such a special place that anybody who's ever made an impact on our genre has played that stage.
We hear so much about the Ryman Auditorium stage and what it feels like to be in there, that has that church and holy vibe. Mm-hmm. What does the Opry stage feel like? What does the crowd feel like when you're performing?
It's kind of a similar vibe. I think they learned when they transitioned from the Ryman. That's where originally the Opry was held. you just have so many country music fans that understand the importance of that place. They silence when you sing a ballad. They silence when you talk. They understand where they are. And when you step into that circle, it's holy ground.
We have heard a couple singles from you already this year. We've got this one. There's a lot of rumors swirling. When is new music coming? What is it going to look like? When is a full album on the horizon? Would you like to announce anything today?
I am so excited to announce that my self-titled sophomore album, Carly Pearce, will be out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, congratulations. I love a lot of things about what you just said, mainly that it is self-titled. It is always interesting when it is not a first album that is self-titled. It always feels more intentional, feels like there's a statement that comes with that. Why is this one Carly Pearce?
I wanted to save my self-titled album for when I really felt like I had found myself.
That was intentional. When you were writing the first album, you said, this is not the Carly Pearce record.
Well, a lot of it, I feel like that first record I wrote before I had a record deal. So I was writing these songs out of a place of like truly desperation and sadness and searching for who I am or who I was. And with this record, I really, in every area of my life, ooh, there's my cover. Dun, dun, dun. I found love. I found myself. I went through a lot of things. And I also am so thankful to fans because they gave my music a home. So this particular era, I'm closing a chapter in my life of I Hope You're Happy Now is the last closing chapter of that old girl. And I'm now kind of like spreading my wings and flying for the first time.
What is it like when you do know that you've come out the other side and you're revisiting it with a song like this to say this is like the end of that moment and I can't wait for people to hear what's next?
I think it's a lot of things. I think for me, it's a victory for me of getting through some things and also loving myself enough to get out of certain things and pushing through that and seeing the benefit of that. And also, I think it's like a testament for anybody who's going through something. I mean, if you look at my story at all, you see how struggles and hardships and things that really were not fun to go through end up on the other side being the best things that could have ever happened to me.
I mean, we should say this is not obviously all just breakup things that you went through.
No.
You've shared a lot about some of the personal struggles with the pressures of image of the industry that it has affected you. How does that show up on this record?
I think vulnerability is all over this record. I've really pushed myself to, it's interesting to look at my single Every Little Thing, how vulnerable that was, what it did for me. Speaking out about body shame and going, hey guys, I know that these photos are really nice of me and airbrushed and great, but look at what this fan wrote about my stomach in a photo. And I think just using all of those and seeing that those are the moments in my career where I feel like people have really related to me on a human level and putting that into music.
I think, you grew up on so many great traditional country singers, and one of the things that I loved about the women of the 90s was this strength and vulnerability in these songs about, some of them were about domestic violence, and somehow we found this amazing uplift in those songs. Where did you channel that onto these records? Are there anthems? How did you find a way to voice that as like a powerful moment?
I think there's kind of everything that you can imagine on this record in the way that those ladies in the 90s did. What I also love is, I'm going to be turning 30 right after this record comes out, and I find my age to be a place of strength in the way that those ladies, when they came out, Shania, Faith, Trisha, they were in their late 20s, early 30s. They had some grit under their belt. I have made mistakes, and I've lived life, and I've had my heart broken. I've broken hearts. I've fallen in love. I've drank too much. Like, I want all of that to come out in a record, and I have a lot to sing the way that those ladies did, and your age is an asset.
Every Little Thing really took people by surprise. I even remember it was like the week before release when it started streaming and when I said, oh my goodness, like I had heard your singles, but to hear the fully realized cohesive collection was such a wonderful, wonderful surprise. When you now get all of those great reviews and your career has been building, you were on like 4 massive tours last year. What is the pressure that comes along with then writing this record? To keep people's attention is a whole different thing than to earn it in the first place.
Yeah, a sophomore record is a big telling of where you're going in your career. You have your whole life to write your first one, and you have 20 minutes to write your second. But I tried to remember the heartbeat of what I was doing when I was writing those first songs, because that's what people are gravitating towards, and that's why I'm where I'm at. That's why I got asked to be on these tours. So I just tried to elevate that and push myself, but also not lose that girl at the core of who I want to be as an artist.
Aside from you, there is one other constant between these two collections. That was your producer and songwriting partner, Busby. He passed away earlier this fall, which I think was a huge surprise to people outside of the industry who weren't aware that he was struggling. Tell me what it means to sort of be sitting on this body of work that gets to kind of honor who he was as a creative.
It's really special. He's the reason that I got a record deal. He signed me to a publishing deal in 2015 when nobody would even look at me. This is the last full body of work that he finished, and I think that is just an amazing gift for me of looking at all of the songs that he's written with me. He and I wrote Every Little Thing together, my very first #1, and he was like family. And it's almost my duty and such a special thing that I have these songs now that are my way of carrying on his legacy. And I will cherish, and this record is going to be and is dedicated to him. And it's just a very special thing that I know he's excited about.
It is kind of a wonderful way to pay it forward with his memory. I'm curious if there's one particular writing session that resulted in a song, or one memory that led to a song or a sound on this record that you most can't wait for people to hear.
There's a song on the record, It Won't Always Be Like This, that I wrote with an amazing songwriter, Natalie Hemby and Sam Ellis. And the first time that Busby heard it in the studio, he was sobbing. And he was just like, man, people need to hear this message. Little did we know he had brain cancer, and it won't always be like this. This may be one of the last times I get to be with you. And so that has taken on like a whole new meaning.
That's beautiful. I'm curious, I know this is still in progress in terms of some song selection or sequencing, but when you do listen to it back, are you surprised in any way by what you were gravitating towards, or the subjects that kept coming up, or maybe where you were heading with a different production sound or vibe?
I think a lot of it is like predictable. I don't mean that as it's not, but I just feel like people are going to be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Because I really, even if I don't write a song, like it has to really be a story in my brain that I can attach to. There's some like, people have associated me with like sass and wine. So I gave you your sassy songs, I'm giving you your wine songs, but like it's almost like 2.0, like sass 2.0, wine 2.0, heartbreak. My husband is collaborating on it with me with a song that's much more appropriate for our relationship. Some other artists have written on this record. So I got to just pull from, I don't know, it was fun to be like, well, I know people like this about me. So what can I do to kind of fill that void?
It's so interesting when romantic partners work together. I'm always curious, obviously 2 songwriters living in one house. When you write a lyric that you think is good, do you immediately show him? Do you wait till a song is close to finished? How does it work between you two in that way?
Oh, I wait until it's like done. He shows me things like a demo that maybe he wrote that day that doesn't sound that great, but like he's like, you can hear through it, and I can. But I'm like real particular. Like I won't play him something unless I think it's like amazing or it's like finished. So we're different.
It's too much pressure.
It's too much. I'm just like too much of a perfectionist. I can't do it.
I've gotten to hear some of the songs on this record, and I have to say an immediate highlight for me was Woman Down.
Oh,
it's
thank
just
you.
so cool. It has a great swagger to it. It sounds different and fresh, but the message also sounds extremely of this moment, and also like a huge throwback to some of those women that we've been talking about. So I just think that's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I feel like that's like my Shania moment for like all the girls. It's I'm excited to get that one out.
Something I feel like we've seen related to that, especially in country music lately, is sort of this public support of women and women together. I know that it's been going on behind the scenes forever, obviously, but at the top, that looks like Carrie Underwood's all-female tour, Miranda Lambert's all-female tour, or like the Instagrams that you guys do of your wine nights with Marin and women your age.
Ooh, yeah.
Does it feel like there's a different energy of people want to see us supporting each other, and also we are supporting each other? It's less about pitting women against each other.
Absolutely. I think the tide has really changed over the last few years. I know it has, I can feel it. We all want to see each other succeed. If one of us succeeds, then we all succeed. I mean, I look to Marin and Kelsey as 2 people that I call friends, but I also really respect, and they've opened a lot of doors for me. And Lindsay L. and Runaway June and these people that are coming behind me, same thing. Like, we're all kind of in a line helping each other, and we do really want to see each other succeed.
I do think the other thing that really influences when people are writing their second record is how much they tour after their first. You've played probably countless shows. I'm sure someone has a tally, but it's way too high to even get to. What did that do for the songs that you want to write, the sounds you want to make, to fill those rooms when you're on stage with like a Jason Aldean?
To be honest with you, when I got my record deal, never in a million years did I think I would ever get to a stadium, and I got to a stadium in a year. Arenas are like an everyday thing for me now, which is crazy. And I think that you have to find a balance of writing to those rooms, but not losing your creative integrity, and that's hard. So I made sure on this record, I feel like, to give songs that I still could hang my hat on, but still had some like grit to them so that they could thump in the arena. But the other beautiful thing is my debut single, I can silence an arena with every little thing. So I like started my career with a ballad, so you're always going to get ballads from me.
That's got to be a great true north for you, because I do think once people see them, I mean, the stadiums, the rafters, you can't even see the people's faces. You do just kind of think, should I just get louder?
Yes, and you don't have to get louder. My biggest songs are the ones where we go down, and they go down with me, because we all feel the same way.
It is interesting to see the way that some of those operations run. I mean, Jason Aldean has an enormous amount of production, a crazy amount of tour buses that go with him, the crazy setups, the rigs, everything. Thomas Rhett has how much production at this point? What did you learn from them in terms of the way they present their show, or the way that they run their tour bus and the way that they run their tour family, that makes you want to carry that into you as your career expands?
Gosh, I feel like I've learned so many different things from each of them. They each have their own vibe, and you really get to tell a story visually with your production, which is amazing, and I look forward to being able to do that as well, and just seeing the different pieces that each of them have brought, where I go, oh yeah, that makes sense that you're Jason or Blake or whoever. But just really watching the way that they handle their crews, and they take care of people, and they really care about their opening acts. I've had an amazing experience with all of the men that I've gotten to tour with, and just looking at superstar level people who play 90 minutes of #1 hits and just going, they're still down to earth, genuine people that remember where they were at my level, and I want to do that.
You are on your own headlining dates now. What is it like to now take this show and figure out, well, this is how I want to present it, and this is my set list that I'm going to do, and I have all the time in the world. I don't have the 30-minute opening slot.
It's been awesome. I have wanted to be able to play my own shows and had no idea really what would happen, and it's blown my mind to look out and be able to create an environment where I know that these people are coming for me and they're singing with me, and I get to kind of just dive in a little bit more instead of just how much music can I cram in front of Jason Aldean before he kicks me off the stage. So it's really fun, and it makes me excited to eventually be able to add production in my own and kind of do what those men did for me, is just give it back. I'm able to now bring out a few opening acts, and that's so fun because I remember when Kelsey Ballerini did that for me.
Right. It's amazing. Unfortunately, that is all the time for me, but we do have some people who are waiting in the audience to ask some questions.
Hi. My question is, with all of the like genre combining that we see in music today between like country and pop and hip hop, I'm wondering if there's anybody in another genre that you would really love to collaborate with.
This is an interesting question because it's not that I wouldn't want to, but there are just so many people in the country world. I guess if I had to pick, like John Mayer, just because I feel like he still has a little bit of that acoustic thing, and just Slow Dancing in Burning Room is like my favorite. But like my dream would be like Dolly.
I mean, yeah.
You know? I mean, if we're going to shoot
For anyone who doesn't know, she also used to perform at Dollywood.
Yeah, so I'm like a Dolly freak.
And then we have one more question.
Hi, I was wondering, so your new single, I Hope You're Happy Now, is, co-written with Luke Holmes, who's, just an amazing performer like yourself. What was it like writing a song with another performer? Because you've written so many amazing songs with just songwriters. Like, were you able to like really picture it in an arena or another venue?
It's a really good question that nobody's asked me. That was the first song I'd ever written with another artist, and it was really fun. You write with all different kinds of people, but to be able to write with somebody who knows the kind of stages that you're playing and really understands how to sing. I don't know how to like explain that, but a lot of times in writing sessions, they may sing, but like to really write a duet with a singer that I respect so much was like so inspiring. And we were able to really think about, what is this going to sound like on a stage? Because we're out doing it. Until you do it, you don't know what in the world it's going to be like.
I love that. Well, Carly, thank you so much for being here. You guys, this
Thank
is out in
you.
February. She's got tour dates on her website. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm excited.